everyone, it's Kathy and you're back here in my craft room and on my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Crafting. Thanks so much. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please think about doing so. Just click that subscribe button. It helps me grow my channel and it just helps me out all the way around, so I appreciate it. And if you like what you see in this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you like the video, just click that little thumbs up or the like button, and if you want to, you can share this on your social media, whether it's Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook, whatever your social media platform is, and I would appreciate that as well. So thanks so much for joining me today. Today I wanted to ask this question: do you struggle with building a scene? I do. I seem to struggle. So I'm going to show you a technique that I played around with and I made it work, and I really liked the way it turned out. So I thought, anytime I find something that works, I want to bring it and share it with all of you. So I have brought out my Peaceful Deer stamp set, and this is a beautiful photopolymer. I have several of my stamps off because we're going to be building a scene with those. We're probably going to use this little deer right here. We might use the smaller one that's sitting down. I'm not sure. We'll play that. We'll play that by ear as we get to it. But I thought, how cute would this be to do something? And it comes with the deer builder, and the deer builder does go with either this or this, and this basically is a fill-in for this one. So if you stamp this particular stamp, then you would stamp this in a color, and this would be a fill-in. So it would sit right over top of it. So that's like what we call in Stampin' Up a two-step stamp set. So it lets you color it in, but it also has these words that are etched in there. So not only will you get that, but you'll get these words that say, oh, what fun, which is great. So, but I'm going to leave this one out because I think we're going to deal with that one for today. I'm going to set my punch over here, because the first thing I want to do is I want to build my little snow scene. And to do that, I am going to, I'll tell you what, let's just build it on this piece of paper. This is, I'm going to turn it this way because I got a little ink over here, and we're going to build from this side up. So I have all of my little trees loaded up on stamp sets, and here's my largest one. I'm going to use Shaded Spruce. And we're going to do second generation stamping to give us more than one color. So you could choose a different color, but it's so much simpler just to go in, ink up your stamp, stamp it down, and I'm going to go off of the page just a tiny bit, like about there. Give that a good press, and then I'm going to go up and over top of that one just a hair. And that's our second generation stamping. And that's what you're going to get. So pretty, and it looks like it's like the shadow, so to speak, of the tree. I love the way that looks. I'm going to set that one over. And then I want to grab the one that shows my 3 trees. Now, you might say that only looks like 2, but it's got 3 peaks. So we're going to call it 3 trees. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink it. And I'm going to stamp this one right about here. Stamp it down, and then I'm going to go up and stamp it right up there, just like that. And then I'm going to do that again, but this time I'm going to come down to about here and stamp, and then stamp up. And see how pretty that's turning out? It's giving you dimension without really doing anything. So I'm going to come back now with this little 2 stamps, and I'm going to stamp right down here, and then right up here, just to kind of fill that in. And see how pretty that little scene looks now? We have built us a tree scenery. So, and I thought, you know, if we're going to do the deer, we need to have some trees because deer are usually in the woods. So I'm going to bring out my trimmer. I love this paper trimmer. So if you're in the market for a paper trimmer, I highly recommend this one. I'm going to bring this over to 3 1/4. and we're going to cut it. It's going to cut a little bit of that tree off, but that's okay. Just like that. And then I'm going to bring it this way, and I want to cut it off at 3.5. So that's going to give us our little scene that we're going to need for our card. The other thing I did is I have a piece of green. I might have to get it. Yeah, I'm gonna need a bigger piece for this. So let me grab another piece of green, and this is the shaded spruce, the same color that I did the this in. But you can also use the soft succulent, because this is what I made my card base out of. And see how that matches the soft succulent, even though I didn't use soft succulent ink. So I am going to cut this piece. Let's see, this is 3.5. So I'm going to go to 3. No, this is 3.25. So 3.25. We're going to go to 3.5 by 3.5 by 3.5. This is going to be a square. So 3.5 by 3.5. And I will not give direct measurements for this, because everybody's going to stamp different. I did one earlier, and let me show you the difference. This one was more of a rectangle. So this one's more of a square. I think I spreaded my trees out a little bit wider on this one. So they're going to vary. So what you're going to want to do is cut your piece and then decide how much cardstock you're going to need. So we know that this one needs to be 3.5. So this should frame on here perfectly, but it doesn't. That's okay. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make it fit. I'm going to take a little bit off of the bottom here, just like that. And then we're going to bring this to our solid piece, and there we go. So that worked out perfect, and we're good to go. So now let's see. I also want to bring in a piece of this beautiful, this is called the Painted Christmas Designer Series paper, and one side looks like this and the other side looks like this. Now I've already cut the card to do one like this, so I might turn it over and use the other side, so I'll have two different Christmas cards. But it's going to be the same principle. We're going to layer that paper up like that to really frame and give everything a nice look. And let's see if that's going to fit on there. Nope, we're going to need a little bit bigger piece. So I'm going to turn this over. And this can go in either direction. So we know that this is 3.5 by 3.5. I'm going to cut this piece at 3.75 by 3.75. Or I may just go 4 by 4. Let's do a 4 by 4 so we'll see a little bit more of that paper. Never hurts to have a little bit more of your paper showing. So 4 by 4. And then we can decide which one of our card bases we want to use. Whether we want to go with the evening evergreen, or do we want to go with this shaded spruce? I think I'm going to do this one on shaded spruce. I think that'll be really pretty. So I'm going to pull another piece of shaded spruce and see how pretty that's going to show up on there. Let's go ahead and cut our card base. And for this one, I'm going to do a 5.5. So I'm going to bring my 11-inch side to the 5.5 mark over here. That's cutting it right square in half. And then we're going to turn it 1/4 of a turn and bring it to 4 1/4. Move that cut blade out of your way, and then we can score it. That is one of the really neat features on this particular scoreboard that I just love. Okay, there's a lot of scoreboards out there now that have that technology, but Stampin' Up! Was one of the first, I think, that came up with it, and I love it. I love it. So we have our card base done. We have our little square that's going to go right about there, and now we have this piece that's going to go down. just about like that. And then we have our scenery that's going to go down. The only thing that's missing is our pretty little deer. So I'm going to bring our little deer stamp over. And you know what? I think for this one, since I'm making it different, I think I am going to get the little doe that's laying down. So let's get this little one. And how about a bunny rabbit too? It can look very festive like that. I'm going to grab a piece of white scrap. And this is just a little piece of scrap. And I am going to put down my two little critters. And I think that's what we'll call them, is our little critters. I'm going to go ahead and clean the stamp off so I can move it off of that block. And of course I dropped it on the floor. I'm sorry about that. My poor little dogs, they're nervous wrecks because I'm always dropping stuff and they're always right here under my feet. So they have learned to jump when they hear something start to clamor. It's so funny. But I've never hurt them. I've never dropped anything heavy on their heads or anything. They're my sweet babies. So I'm going to pull this stamp off. And I am going to pick up my little deer. And I'm trying to decide if I want to, I think I want to do the deer out of the Early Espresso. And I'm going to stamp her down right about there. Beautiful images every time. I cannot sing the praises of the Stampin' Up! Stamp sets and their inks. They are without a doubt the best I have ever used, and they give me a wonderful effect every time. So I never have to worry whether I'm going to get the image that I'm looking for. It's always true on spot. Now I think I'm going to go with a lighter ink for my little rabbit. I think I'm going to go with basic gray because I think he needs to be a little gray rabbit just to have a little something extra different. And you know, a lot of times our little friends in the forest are different colors. So we're going to have a evening evergreen for our deer and a basic gray for our rabbit. There we go. Not quite as stark as a black would be, a little subtle. So now I want to get my Stampin' Blends out, and I have my crumb cake that I want to use for my deer. And now I need to find a gray, and I think that smoky slate is usually my go-to. There's my light and dark smoky slate. So I'm going to use these two Stampin' Blends. I'll get that out in a minute. And I'm going to go in first with my light. And I just want to put down some color all over my deer. Now I'm using the lighter one first because I just want to kind of color in all over. Like that. And then I'm going to take that darker color and I'm going to trace around these different little places where around her head, maybe up here in her ear, down around her legs. A little bit up around the top and under here. Then I'm going to go back with that lighter color and I'm just going to blend. This way you won't see the harsh lines. It just blends everything together. And you see the shading, but you don't really see exactly how it's coming about. And these markers can make anybody look like they're an artist. And these come 2 in a pack. You get the light and the dark, and I believe they're $9 for a set. And I love them. I think they are the best alcohol markers that I've ever used. I've never had any problems with them. They just work. First time, every time. Okay, a little color down, doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to come back in with the bullet tip of the dark one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go around his ears, right up under here. Around his body just a little bit, and then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to use the bullet tip on this one just to kind of blend all of that in. And I'm going to put a little bit on the cottontail, just a tiny bit. And if you see that you got his face too dark, you can always use the color lifter. And I'm going to go in because I want that face to be a little lighter. See how it lifts that color? And that gives you a whole nother aspect to use, because once you do this, you can really get some effects onto your coloring that you wouldn't normally get. And I think that looks beautiful. Let me bring that up closer so you can see. Isn't that pretty? So now the fussy cutting. I am going to grab my paper snips. These are my favorite scissors to use for fussy cutting. And I'm going to cut one of these at a time, and I'm going to trim them out like this, just to give myself more of an edge on around here. So now I am going to just trim out. And if you notice, I'm not moving my scissors, I'm moving the paper, which is crucial when you're fussy cutting. Don't move the blade of your paper, the blade of your scissors, move your paper. And just circle around. See how I turn the paper instead of the scissors? Crash away. And then we're going to do our little bunny. The bunny is going to be a little more tedious because it's little, but that's okay. I am going to just work around it in little kind of in and out motion because he's a little fluffy bunny. He doesn't have to be perfect. And if you're not good at fussy cutting, I would say just stamp out a bunch of images, and when you're sitting watching TV at night, or just not feeling very creative, sit down and practice your fussy cutting. This is like anything else. Your perfection comes with practice. Now, I don't practice nearly enough because fussy cutting hasn't always been one of my favorite things to do. And probably for that is I am way too critical on myself. I want everything to be perfect, and we all know that crafting's not a perfect science. It's art, and art's not perfect. So there's my bunny. So now we're ready to put this card together. The only thing we need now is a sentiment. And how about this, 'tis the season to be jolly. And this comes from Holly Jolly Wishes. And since I had it out, let's see if there's anything else in here. It's the most wonderful time of the year would be pretty. Have a holly jolly Christmas. But I need something that's going to be a little bit smaller that can go to one side or the other. And look what I did this morning. I spilled coffee on my stamp set. I hate that. Everything cleaned up except the packaging. So I hated that I messed that up. But you know what? Things happen. I'm going to take this other piece of cardstock. Maybe we'll grab a die instead. That might be the safest thing for me to do so I don't get in trouble with anyone. I know how much y'all hate the fact that I show something and then you can't purchase it. So let's grab a... These are the Tasteful labels. I love these because they are so cute, and I don't know if that will fit in there or not. Let's cut it and try it. I'm going to use the same piece of cardstock. I'm just going to put this in and cut it out in white. And see, this gives it a cute little decorative edge around it. Isn't that pretty? So that way, if this will fit on here, and let's try that in the real red. Bella, Bella, Bella. My puppy dog is snoring up a storm. Bella. She doesn't seem to be paying me a bit of mind. She is sleeping good. So what is that old saying? Let sleeping dogs lie. I am going to let her lie. So let's see if we can manage to get that in there. Oh, that looks really pretty, and it does fit. It fits beautifully. Sometimes a stamp may look a little bit deceiving. It may look like it's not going to fit, but it really will. And I think that that needs to go on there right there. And we're going to put the bunny rabbit. Tell you what, let's put the deer right about there. And we're going to sit Mr. Bunny Rabbit right there. But I'm going to use that gray, the dark gray, and I'm going to go around him as well. Again, I'm going to do it from the back side. When I say the back, point your marker from the back to the front like this. And then just knock the edges of it down. Just like that. Just to take a little of that darkness of the white around it. Oh yeah, that looks so much better. So I'm going to pop this up on Dimensionals. So let me grab I got my little minis, and I've got some regular ones, and I think we can get a couple of regular ones on our little deer. But I think our little bunny rabbit's going to need the little ones. So let me grab my take your pick tool, and I'm just going to use my pick end to pull off my Dimensionals. Just like so. And I'm going to stick him right about there. And then we're going to bring the little Mr. Bunny down at the bottom, and I'm going to use some of the smaller Dimensionals for him or her. So I'm going to put one right there at her head, and I'm going to put one here on her body. And these are so tiny, I'm just going to pull those off with my fingers. And this one's going to go right about here. And then we're going to use some of the bigger ones onto this. And I think what I need to do is just put them on the bottom. And then we might be able to get away with some glue up here at the top. So I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue. The reason for that, this is going to be raised up a little bit higher than the Stampin' Dimensionals. So I think this will work. So very carefully drop that in right like that. That worked out beautifully. So we have a very cute little, I still would love just a simple Merry Christmas. I'm looking for a stamp set that just says Merry Christmas, because something small. I don't want it to be outrageously big. Let's see what this one looks like. This one's going to be too big. I wanted like Merry Christmas across the front right there. Let me look for a smaller stamp set that says Merry Christmas, and we'll be right back. Well, I found the stamp that I was wanting, and I got a little overzealous, and I went ahead and stamped it without turning my camera on. But you know, sometimes what you need is right under your eyes, because in the Peaceful Deer, there is a very simple Merry Christmas, and that's exactly what I was looking for. And when I discovered it was in here, of course, I grabbed it out and inked it up and stamped it down. So that's what we have so far. I love that, but I need to anchor something under my deer and my bunny. So we're going to try a little trick here to see if we can cut some strips of paper. So I'm going to get my paper trimmer out, and all I want to do is just have a tiny little piece, maybe a 1/4 of an inch. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and do a 1/2 an inch. We can always trim it down. So 1/2 an inch, and I want this to be about 4 inches long. And I just want it to go under the edge of my bunny. You know, I don't think I'm gonna have enough there to, let's see if we can, we're gonna see if we can fix that, because I didn't like the fact that the bunny just looked like it was sitting there, floating in the air. So sometimes you have to do what is called grounding, and that's just ground your image a little bit. And in doing that, sometimes you just need to cut a strip of paper and trim it down to make it what you need it to be. So this one, you see my sophisticated ways I measure. So I'm going to take this to about 2.5 and slice it. And I have my other little piece. No, we're going to try to move that up. Here's my other little piece. So I'm going to try something. I don't know if it's going to work, but you know what? You don't know until you try. I'm going to try to pull this up. Remember, I put it down on the mini glue dots, and look, they did, not the glue dots, the mini dimensionals, and it did come up beautifully. So that gives me an opportunity to ground my little bunny. So I'm going to do that by using a piece of just white cardstock, and I'm going to grab my paper snips, and all I'm going to do is start on the corner, and I'm going to make a little bit of a snowman. Just like that, and I just free-handed that. And what I want to do is ground that here, and then sit my bunny on top of it. Now it looks like my bunny is sitting on something. He looks a little bit more grounded like that. And we're going to do the same thing for our little deer right here. We're going to put, I'm going to start down here, and I'm just going to go something like that. Then let's see if we can get him grounded a little bit right there. Now it looks like we've got a little bit of a grounding effect, and I think that adds to the look of the card. So what I'm going to do first is I want to put some glue on the back of this one. And I'm going to try sliding this up and under. And don't worry if it hangs off, you can always trim it. That looks better. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my bunny. I'm going to lay this down with just some glue. And then because I've lifted this up a couple of times, I'm just going to put a dot of glue on these dimensionals just to make sure that they stick well. Alright, and as you can see, it has a little bit of a hangover there, so I'm just gonna, well, that didn't work, did it? My little bunny fell off. And I'm gonna hold my bunny here just for a few seconds. Make sure that glue starts to dry. Now I can go down around the side of this. Just snip that off like that. Alright, and the only thing we have left to do is to put a piece of white cardstock inside. And I think what I want to do is I want to play with that designer series paper again, and I'm going to put a piece of it on the inside. So I'm going to cut that piece down to 5 1/4 by 4. Trusty paper trimmer out, and then we will go ahead and get this cut. I'm going to go this way first, so I need it to be 5 1/4, and then turn it, and I want it to be 4. And this is just going to help carry that theme through that we have going on. This way better. So we'll put that down there, and then that piece of white, just a white strip that I had left over, I'm going to use it to stamp my sentiment on. And I'm going to center that right there. So let's see what sentiment we want to get. I want something a little bit bigger. I like this one on Words of Cheer, wishing you a joyful Christmas. So I think this is the one I want to use, and this, like I said, is from Words of Cheer. So let's find that red ink pad again. I'm going to take just a second to clean my stamp, and then we will pick this one up, and we are coming down to the home stretch on this card, which is wonderful. Let's see, I want to make sure I got this nice and straight. And then I'm going to take my piece out. I'm going to stamp it up to the top a little bit. Love that. And I think to give just a little more character, we're going to follow through with the trees inside. And I'm just going to pick one bundle of the trees, and I'll stamp them twice. So let's pull out our shaded spruce again. And from my Peaceful Deer stamp set, I'm going to go ahead and put Merry Christmas back in here. And I think I'm going to pick the medium trees. Sorry, that would be this one. And again, my stamp block is right here. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did on that front panel. I'm going to stamp off to the side. And then I'm going to go up and do that second generation stamping. And that is going to be our card. Now we just got to glue it all together, and we can put this one in the books as being another finished card. So I'm going to use my Stampin Seal Plus. They've improved the Stampin Seal tremendously from what it was when it first came out. So if you were not a fan of it, I would say give it another try. The quality of it has improved tremendously. It comes off a lot easier, and it's just much easier to use than it was. So I think they might have heard our cries on that one. I just got that centered right there in the middle, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm just going to run one there, and one across the top. Make sure nothing's hanging over. And then I want to center this right in the middle. Just like that. And now that card's done. And remember I told you I had this one. I did the deer right here, but I went ahead and glued everything together. And I stamped this, "We wish you a Merry Christmas," and I've kind of fussy cut around it a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to cut a snowdrift for the bottom of this. So again, I'm going to go to this piece of, the scrap piece of white that I have. And because I want my edge to be nice, I guess that would be the word, I'm going to go ahead and use my trimmer and trim off about this much. That makes that about 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to do it by 4. And his feet are not glued down, so what I want to try to do is tuck this under his feet. So again, I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to start from this corner, and I'm just going to go around and up. Something like that, and then I want to put this under his feet just to make it appear that he's leaping in the snow. I like that. I think that looks really attractive. So I'm going to go ahead and commit to that by putting some glue on it. And again, I want to make sure that my piece is under his feet and legs. Just like that. And I wanted to show you that, you know, one stamp set, and you can do multiple cards and have a different look. So I think for this I want to pop it up on my dimensionals. So I'm just going to grab about 3. And I'm going to take this up a little bit higher and just put it down like that. I think I need a mini glue dot right underneath the end of that just to stabilize it. So I am going to take one and put it right there. Pull the backer off and then press it down. That just gives that a little extra support right there on that edge. And there's our 2 cards. You can see the same stamp set, just with a little variation in the background of the paper. Both of them green. And you could do this in any color you want. This would be gorgeous done in blue and silver, blues and silvers, and make it look very snowy. Just so many possibilities. So again, I use the Peaceful Deer. I used Words of Cheer, and I used the Tasteful Label dies, and of course this bundle comes with the Deer Builder. So if you buy this as a bundle, you can save 10%. All right, that's our card for today. I hope you've enjoyed the process of watching me work through this and showing you how easy it can be to build a scene. So I hope you'd give it a try, and if you do, post your pictures of your projects that you make over on my Facebook group, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. So the link will be in the description below, along with all the products, measurements, and everything will be listed below this video. And if you go over and join my Facebook page, you'll always be able to find everything there as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget that tomorrow is our 1-day free shipping sale. So if you've had your eyes on some things and you want to save a little money, 10%, you'll save 10% with free shipping. So it's a great time to go ahead and load up your cart with those last chance products that you've been dying for, and we're getting ready for that brand new catalog that's coming out January the 4th. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're going to be looking at 2022. So they say time flies when you're having fun, and I have had such a good time with all of you and working with my Stampin' Up! Products and creating something new and exciting every day. I love you guys so much, and as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say bring glory to our Lord Jesus. He is so worthy. Thank you once again for tuning in. God bless and keep you. Bye-bye.